Working on a traction engine which is similar to a Minnie. This is part 6, masking the wheels and painting them using self-etch primer. A most important first part is to remove any rust that is present on the wheels. There isn't much, just a tiny bit here and there. The ultrasonic cleaner made short work of the paint because I used an increased amount of solvent, but the water present in the mixture did cause some localized rusting. Although in the bit I've just cleaned, that isn't rust, it's the remains of the horrible paint that was on there. Slowly and systematically I worked my way around the wheels. I also cleaned the spokes, not because they were rusty, just in an attempt to wear down the white paint on the spokes, so that the scratches left by the marking out process weren't quite as pronounced. This part of the video is running in real time, but later on I do speed it up a bit. It's very important not to miss out this part of the process, and even more importantly, once you've done it, you need to blow away all the dust, preferably with an airline. This is very important. I need to mask the small bolts that stick out of the wheels, used for fastening the hubcaps in place. I moved the nuts to the end of the bolts and then pushed on small pieces of silicone rubber tubing. I've had this tubing for quite a long time. I even use it in longer lengths to support parts that go into my acid bath. When I bought this stuff many years ago, it was a mistake. I misread the size. I thought it was model aircraft fuel tubing, and indeed it is if your model aircraft engine is very, very tiny, but for what I wanted it was far too small. However, over the years I've used it for so many different things, I'm glad I bought it. You can see clearly what I'm doing here. I'm pressing the pieces of silicone rubber tubing onto the nuts, which in turn are on the studs. This should be okay. I can't really see that much paint is going to get at the studs. Over now to the front wheels, which are very similar in construction to the rear wheels except smaller. These were never made to have hubcaps, instead they just have 5 rivets. I could easily make a set of hubcaps for the front wheels, but fixing them to the wheels would be a problem. To keep it in scale, I would say that the nuts and bolts need to be 12 BA, and I'm not too good at working with things that small. I find it very hard to thread anything in steel using a 10 BA tap, never mind 12. It must be an age thing because I find it very difficult to even see 12 BA stuff. This part of the job is very routine. I'm going to mask the outer edge of the wheels. And initially I thought, I'll be able to use just one piece of masking tape, then press it into position to follow the contours of the outer tyre. How wrong I was. I was pressing the masking tape into position using the end of a deburring tool which is nice and round and smooth, but it wasn't successful. A while ago I bought some special very thin masking tape, and here it is, and it comes with an applicator. I think it's made by Tamiya, the Japanese model company. This applicator makes it very easy to run lines of masking tape onto flat surfaces, but it's not so good with the wheels. The applicator kept interfering with the masking tape and creasing it. In the end I put the applicator on one side and just used the roll of tape, and that was much more successful. As you can see, one side is done. Flushed with success, it's now time to do the other side. And just like with any kind of repetition, the more you do it, the better you get at it. Doing this side took half as long as doing the first side. A while ago I bought a selection of different thicknesses of masking tape for general use. I don't do a lot of painting using masking tape, but it's always good to have the parts in stock if you need them. And here is a piece of masking tape that is perfect for this job, for masking the tyre of the front wheel. This part of the masking job was by far the easiest. I didn't have any problems whatsoever. And in no time at all, one of the wheels was masked and ready for painting. Now over to the other one. You will be pleased to know that I'm not going to show a repeat process of what you've just seen, because it is identical in every way. I'm going to break up this video into different sections. This is the wheel masking sequence part 1, and this is wheel 2. Now it's into the outer part of the workshop to use some of this stuff, self-etch grey primer. The place where I get it is on the can, and it really is the best I've come across. You can buy primer in either normal or high build form. I do not recommend using high build primer because it's quite thick and it tends to paint over the details. It both fills and blurs any numbers or writing on cast iron parts. Painting is difficult. You cannot scale nature, as LBSC used to say, and this coating of paint, really looking at it, is far too thick, but I don't have a choice. You cannot use scale paint. I find it a bit of an anomaly that when I look at an aluminium drinks can, the paint is absolutely perfect and highly detailed and not thick at all. It's the same with powder coating, that's a bit on the thick side. This self-etch primer is strange stuff. When you spray it on, it goes on quite thick, but then once it dries, it seems to thin out and level. Very good stuff to use. You will notice in this sequence I'm using small bolts in the axle hole, which lifts the part that I'm painting clear of the surface that I'm painting on. This is a gratuitous shot of the paint on one of the front wheels in the outer part of the workshop actually drying in real time. And while this is happening, I go back into the inner part of the workshop to mask both of the rear wheels. I'm using the broad masking tape for this, and it's a very simple job. You will note that I'm not masking the edges of the strakes. These are the bars that run across the wheel, used on the full size so that the wheels grip the ground that they're running on. This was a really quick job, one wheel done already and on to the next one. It's important to make sure that you get the masking tape right to the edge of the strakes. Just as before, practice makes perfect. The more you do it, the easier it becomes. With the masking tape in place, I pressed it down to make sure it was stuck and took the wheel into the outer part of the workshop for exactly the same treatment as with the front wheels. The shape of these spokes on traction engines I find quite difficult to paint. It's very easy to apply too much. You need to just keep recoating until all the spokes and the centre hubs are covered. Do not fixate on one area, otherwise you will find the paint runs all over the place. It's very easy with wheels like this to get runs or sags, so be careful, keep your eye on it. Sanding off any drips on spokes of this size is not good fun. This very well made small traction engine is a bit of an anomaly. No castings have been used. It's soft soldered throughout, including the rings in the wheels, and the spokes have been individually made, because if you look carefully, particularly on the front wheels, you'll see that some of the spokes are thinner than others. Whoever built this really did know what they were doing. I am humbled by the talent of this builder, but not impressed by the soft soldering. And that is it for this episode. Stay safe, stay healthy, thanks for watching, and I hope you found it useful. Please take the time to visit my Mainsteam Models website and click on the section of the website that says Video Playlists. And by doing that, you can find other videos that you may like to watch. And by using the playlists, you can actually watch the videos back to back.